Hey fellow gamers, Chatty Sisa here. While we were all busy with Crimson Desert, Pragmata or Dawnwalker updates recently, Hudson's new game studio, Arcanaut Studios, was quietly hiring some industry veterans to work on Star Wars: Fate of the Old Republic. The list is quite impressive, and some of them might be well known to you if you're a fan of the Mass Effect or Dragon Age franchises. And I'm talking here about the people who have been part of the old BioWare from back in the day when they were creating great games, not the current day messy flops like Dragon Age the Failguard. So who exactly is on Arcanaut's team as of today working on the next Star Wars game? First of all, just a quick recap. During the Game Awards in December 2025, the new Star Wars game was announced, Star Wars: Fate of the Old Republic. And to everyone's surprise, we could see Hudson on camera during the announcement, which revealed that he's going to be the game's director. To anyone who has been following up on the original BioWare veterans that have left the studio in the past, Hudson's name definitely rings a bell. He was working for a long time for BioWare, being the director and producer for Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, director and executive producer on the original Mass Effect trilogy, but also BioWare's general manager during the time they've released Anthem, that flopped hard. He also doesn't have the best track record when it comes to his own studios. The previous one, Humanoid Origin, was closed in November 2024 after 3.5 years without having ever produced a single game. And let's not forget that Arcanaut Studios have been formed not even a year ago in July 2025, and just a half a year before the game's announcement. Which is why I'm currently still wary of both the studios and the game's future. Although, to be fair, Humanoid Origin has been reportedly closed due to lack of sufficient funding, and I believe this shouldn't be the problem with Arcanaut. Star Wars: Fate of the Old Republic is being created in collaboration and most probably with the financial backing of Lucasfilm Games, which is owned by the Walt Disney Company. And we've been talking about it already on the channel during the December livestream, so I'm not going to repeat all of it here, but I will link the respective vid in the description below. Based on Hudson's posts on X, the game should be released before 2030, but if it really will remains to be seen. A good portion of the player base is excited for the game, but also careful at the same time when it comes to the game's actual release. But back to the current update, and that is all the people that are now confirmed to be working for the studio in important positions. Back in December we only had the information about the founders. Now we can see on the studio's pages more and very interesting team members. Upfront a note that reddish hue on the pictures and the grainy background is coming directly from Arcanaut's homepage, which I'm linking by the way also below. The page introduces to us Dan Fessenden as the senior technical designer, and he's been in the past working on the predecessor game Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. The good old BioWare game, which was released in 2003 and is considered to be one of old BioWare's most important games, receiving numerous awards. What the page doesn't tell you is that based on his LinkedIn profile, he was also working on other BioWare games as level or technical designer, and also as the senior technical designer for Hudson's previous company, Humanoid Origin. The next team member is Melanie Faulkner as the Director of External Development, and she should be a very familiar name to all Mass Effect and Dragon Age fans. She has worked on games like Mass Effect 3, Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition, and has been with BioWare for almost 12 years. Here, on one hand, I'm happy to see her on the team. Dragon Age 2 and Mass Effect 3 are among my top favorite games, in spite of their respective flaws. But what makes me a bit skeptical is the fact that her LinkedIn profile is showing her as the producer for Anthem and Dragon Age: The Failguard. Admittedly just until September 2019, so there was plenty of time and other people involved in that absurdity of a game later on, but still. Afterwards, she was the principal lead producer for Humanoid Origin, so it looks like Hudson is gathering back many people from the previous team. Another position that was updated is the Director of Production and Performance, which will be filled by Carolyn Livingstone. She has over 20 years of expertise that includes Neverwinter Nights, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect and Dragon Age. As per her LinkedIn profile, she left a career in acting almost 20 years ago and started working in the gaming industry as producer and director for voiceovers and performance capture, which I think is a great background. Once she left BioWare, she was also working for Humanoid Origin like the rest of the team. Ryan Hoyle, as the Chief Technical Officer, will be the technical lead for Star Wars: Fate of the Old Republic, and as per Arcanaut's info, he's been making games for over 25 years, having worked on Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, the Mass Effect trilogy, and more recently at Epic Games. A look at his LinkedIn profile doesn't reveal much more, but if you look at the time he spent at BioWare, then he was there almost from the start and left the company after more than 21 years. Unsurprisingly, Humanoid Origin also appears in his bio. The latest addition to the team is Pascal Blanchet as the studio art director, and I'm apologizing if I am pronouncing the name incorrectly. If you're not familiar with the name, then let me show you just a few jobs he had in the past. Arcanaut's homepage is only listing basic information with regards to the previous studios for which he was working, like Ubisoft, Behavior Interactive, Wizards of the Coast and Warner Brothers, which now belong to Paramount, as you might know from my other vid. But if you look at his LinkedIn profile, the list gets much more interesting. Just to name a few highlights, he's been working as the art director on James Cameron's Avatar game and RuneScape, art director for characters in Far Cry New Dawn, or concept artist for the first Aquaman movie, where he designed the costumes and the creatures. And although he's the only one from the team who hasn't been working previously with Casey Hudson, his list of achievements is pretty impressive. As you can see, most of the people on the studio's webpage are highly experienced people with a long track record within the gaming industry, having worked for many large and important studios and on very successful games. There's one position though that I'm missing on this list, and that one might in the end make or break the game. Who's on the writing team? And who will be the lead writer here? I was only able to find one single person, Ben Jelinas, as senior game writer and editor listed for Arcanaut on the already mentioned LinkedIn pages. But aside from that, no other names have popped up, whether on the studio's homepage or any other social media sites. Ben's own experiences range from Mass Effect 3, Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda at BioWare to writing for Remedy Entertainment or Warner Brothers games. And of course also his bio is mentioning Humanoid Origin. Most of the games where he's been a part of the writing team have been described by reviewers as lore-rich stories with engaging dialogues, so this gives me hope that the studio is really paying attention to this aspect of the game. But what about the rest of the team and all the other writers? Those people that have made BioWare games great back in the day are either already busy with other projects, like Drew Karpyshyn with Exodus, or their writing has suffered immensely over the last couple of years. I mean, just look at Patrick Weeks and Dragon Age: The Failguard. The studio's webpage says they are still hiring, so I'm wondering whether they have already their eyes on specific people. With the current situation on the market and the many layoffs we've seen from other studios, they shouldn't have a problem to hire people for all the positions they need. Although for me the quality of said people remains questionable unless we see new names appearing on the site. The studio's size is at the moment stated as 11 to 50 employees, with additional 34 associated members. And those are LinkedIn members who've listed Arcanaut Studios as their current workplace on their profile. So it looks like the company is steadily growing and we might see more updates coming in the future. In any case, I'll keep you posted on the developments here. But for now, I'm curious what you think about the already known team members at Arcanaut. Whether you trust that these veterans will be able to deliver a great game from a, let's say, technical perspective, or if you think that the writing part here is still the more important one and will decide the game's success. Also, what do you think about Disney having the ownership here? Do you think their quite well-known woke agenda will impact the game's development? Let me know in the comment section below, and in case you've made it this far, please consider hitting that like or subscribe button. It'll be very helpful for the channel and much appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, stay tuned and game on!